They say a man's true worth is measured by his assets. For Aris, his assets were few: a frayed blanket, a half-empty bottle of water, and the ability to disappear into gray backdrop the city. He wasn't simply poor, he was invisible. He'd built a wall of weariness around himself, a necessary shield against the constant, casual dismissal of the thousands who hurried past his underpass shelter every day. The greatest kindness the world offered him was the permission to be ignored. Another day, another breath the city didn't notice. Good. His greatest fear wasn't hunger, but the memory of who he used to be, a man who cared. Caring was expensive. Caring cost him everything. Now, he lived by a simple, brutal contract. You don't bother me, and I won't bother your suffering. Meanwhile, a few miles away, Julian Thorne was in his own gilded cage. The city didn't ignore Julian. It worshipped him. He commanded markets, influenced governments, and owned buildings that scraped the sky. Yet, beneath the veneer of titanium and glass, he was utterly isolated. His world was full of takers, lawyers, rivals, even family, all wanting a piece of the Thorne legacy. He trusted his algorithms more than he trusted a handshake. I don't care about the market cap. Robert, find the leak. And tell security I want a full sweep. Every single person who entered my office today is now suspect. I need isolation. Total. I pay for protection, not companionship. Julian's isolation wasn't self-pity. It was a strategy. It was how he survived the relentless, transactional nature of his existence. He valued efficiency, control, and above all, the power of money to keep him safe. He drove his own armored car, preferring the mechanical surety of his machine to the flawed loyalty of a driver. Tonight, that armored surety failed him spectacularly on a lonely, dark stretch of the interstate's forgotten service road, a back route he took specifically to avoid attention. Aris is settling down for the night. He hears a distant, grinding metallic sound, the first thing that has broken his silence all day. The sound was alien to Aris's quiet routine. It was the sound of something expensive being irrevocably destroyed. He hesitated, listening to his internal contract demanding silence. But then a faint, ragged cry cut through the city's hum, a sound so raw it bypassed his wall of weariness entirely. It was a sound of pure, unadulterated pain. Against every lesson the street had taught him, Aris stood up. The invisible man was about to meet the isolated king, and the king was bleeding out. The smell of ozone and spilled oil hung thick in the air. Aris's first thought wasn't about the wreckage, but about the risk. If he was seen here, he could be blamed. He could lose the only piece of shelter he had. His life demanded self-preservation, yet his legs carried him closer. He saw the figure slumped against the deployment of the side airbag, a man, clearly alive, but barely. His clothes were a quality Aris hadn't touched in years, maybe decades. Fine wool ruined by a dark, rapidly spreading stain. Hey, stay with me. Can you hear me? Julian tried to speak, but only a wet, shallow gas escaped. His hand twitched toward his chest, where the steering column had likely pinned him momentarily. Aris could feel the warmth radiating from the wound on his side, a visceral, terrifying heat. This wasn't a bruise. This was life draining away onto the cold, damp earth. Aris didn't need a medical degree to know that minutes, maybe seconds, were all the man had. His internal debate was a violent, silent war. Walk away, Aris. You owe him nothing. Get yourself to safety. But then he saw it. The stranger's eyes momentarily opened, holding a desperate, primal fear. The same fear Aris had stared down in countless dark nights. That look demanded an answer. No phone, no signal out here. Of course. They put up these barriers for a reason. Aris desperately looked around. He grabbed Julian's hand, surprisingly large and soft, now slick with blood. Julian squeezes weakly. He knew he couldn't move the wreck. Calling for help would take too long, assuming he could even find a working payphone miles away. There was only one option, the one that violated his contract of invisibility. His temporary shelter, a forgotten maintenance access shack 50 yards back, was dusty, but was dry, and it was hidden. He had to move this wealthy stranger, now stripped down to his raw humanity, or watch him die. Listen to me. I'm going to pull you. It's going to hurt. You have to help me just a little. Not if you understand. Julian managed a slow, agonizing jerk of his chin. Aris carefully maneuvered Julian's arm over his shoulder. The sheer weight of the muscular, well-fed body a painful shock after years of his own starvation. Every step was an agony of effort and paranoia. He didn't see the gold watch or the expensive briefcase thrown open nearby. He only saw the fragile, rapidly fading life he held. Aris finally laid Julian down. The effort left him breathless, trembling. He had given up his water, his blanket, and his safety, everything he owned, for a man who, yesterday, would have stepped over him without a second thought. The irony was a cold stab in the chest, but the sudden, urgent necessity of the moment overruled the bitterness. He was a caretaker again, and in that desperate act, Aris felt a spark, not hope, but something far more potent, purpose. The shock of the collision and the pain had kept Julian quiet, submissive. But as Aris started cleaning the gash on his side with slow, meticulous care, using the last of his fresh water, Julian's consciousness returned, bringing with it his constant companion, suspicion. Who are you? Someone who found you. Hold still. You're lucky. It was a clean tear, but it needs pressure. Clean tear? You a medic? Look, I don't know who you are or what you think you're doing, but you need to get me to a hospital now. I have people, security. If I could, I would have. We're too far out. There's no self-service down here. Besides, I think the police will have questions about the state of that car. And I have questions about why a man who has people was driving an armored vehicle on a deserted maintenance road. Julian froze. He realized this man wasn't a doctor or an ambulance driver. He was the vagrant. The realization was a wave of pure, toxic distrust. This was the moment his wealth became his greatest vulnerability. Who would take this risk without wanting something immense in return? Give me my briefcase. It was by the passenger seat. There's a satellite phone. And look, he struggles, tries to sit up. Look, I have money. A lot. You save me. Get me out of here, and I'll give you whatever you need. 5,000. Cash. Just hurry. Aris stopped, the half-tied bandage hanging slackly in his hands. He straightened, feeling the full, dehumanizing weight of Julian's assumption. $5,000. You think that's why I'm sitting here, cleaning your blood, freezing my backside off? You think every act of kindness has a price tag that you can just meet? 10,000. Just tell me what you want. A car? A place to live? I'll buy you a place. Stop playing games. Time is money, and right now, my time is running out. I want nothing from you. The last time I took payment for something good, I lost everything that mattered. I'm doing this because out here, there's no difference between you and me. We're just warm bodies trying not to lose the heat. You're a dying man. I'm a man trying not to lose my last shred of humanity. Now, either you stay quiet while I clean this up, or you can bleed out on your $10,000. The choice is yours. The silence that followed was heavy, filled with the external pressure of the freezing night and the internal conflict raging in both men. Julian, for the first time in years, felt the terrifying impotence of money. It couldn't stop the pain, and it couldn't buy the sincere service he was currently receiving. He was entirely dependent on a man he instinctively distrusted. The fire provided light, but it was the exhaustion that finally broke the stalemate between them. Julian's fever had spiked, forcing him into a state of vulnerable honesty. He was no longer the billionaire. He was just a hurting man in pain. It's warm. Surprisingly, you keep things neat. For out here, tidiness is the one luxury I can still afford. Untidiness kills you faster out here. My mother always said, if you organize the little things, the big ones might just organize themselves. A smart woman. Mine, she just organized charity galas. Never her own life. The mention of Julian's mother broke the icy tension. Julian began to cough, a deep, painful rattle in his chest. Aris instinctively moved closer, offering the last sip of the tepid water. You'll need more than that. I have to go out. No, don't leave. What if they find me? The people who did this, they weren't trying to rob me. They were trying to silence me. This isn't just an accident. Aris looked at the raw fear in Julian's eyes. It wasn't the fear of losing money, but the primal fear of losing control, of being hunted. It mirrored the feeling Aris carried daily, the fear of being exposed, judged, and crushed by the system. I won't abandon you. I just need to check the river access. I know a place down there where the water is clean. If you stay dry and still, you'll last a night. Why? Why are you doing this? You could take my wallet, my watch, and be gone. No one would ever know. I wouldn't tell anyone. Years ago, I had a house, a family. I had a job that mattered. I designed bridges. I built structures that connected people. Then the market crashed. I lost everything, and then I lost the will to fight. I thought I was useless, broken. But when I saw you, this man who has everything, lying there, needing help, it felt like the first honest thing I've done in 10 years. You needed a bridge, Julian, and maybe I still know how to build one. Julian was silent, digesting the revelation that the man patching his wounds had once built the infrastructure that supported his own vast fortune. I spent my life building walls, to keep people like you out, to keep my assets in. I thought the walls protected me, but they just made the world a vast, lonely space. I haven't had a genuine, selfless conversation with anyone in 5 years. Thank you, Aris. Truly, rest. I'll be back before dawn. And when you're stable, we'll figure out how to call your people. But not yet. You're right. We need to be careful. The dawn did not bring the police or Julian's security team. It brought only the quiet resolve of 2 men who had survived a terrifying night together. Aris didn't mention the cold, the risk, or the hunger he felt. He simply offered the meager provisions he had procured. Found us under a bench near the bridge access. You need the calories more than I do. Julian took the bar, staring at it for a long moment. This tiny, ordinary piece of processed food felt more precious than the last $1 million acquisition he had signed. You risk being caught just for this? Aris, I've been living in a desert of my own making. Everything I own, everyone I deal with, it's all calculated. I haven't seen a genuinely kind gesture that wasn't seeking an immediate return in years. You saved my life without knowing my worth, and certainly without caring about it. Your worth? Everyone's worth is the same when they're bleeding out, Julian. It's just life. The hard part is remembering that when you're not. A beat of silence. He pulls off his incredibly expensive, but now ruined, gold watch and offers it Aris. This is a Patek Philippe. It's worth more than the shelter I'll buy you. Take it. Use it. Sell it. No. I risked my life to save a man, not to acquire wealth. I told you I'm not trading this. He gestures around the shack. I found something in here that money couldn't buy me. My purpose. You keep the watch. But promise me something. Anything. When you return to your world of billions, remember what it felt like to be completely dependent, to be utterly human. And next time you pass a man on the street, don't see a problem to be avoided. See a potential bridge builder. See a man. Julian nodded, tears pooling in his eyes. He realized the real pivotal moment was not the crash, but Aris's refusal of the money in Act 3. That was when his life truly changed. I understand, but you can't go back to this. I'm taking you with me, not as a hired hand, but as a partner in humanity. The Julian Thorne Foundation is dormant. I want you to run it. No bureaucracy, just pure Aris-style kindness. Building bridges for people, literally and figuratively. What do you say? Will you help me use this wealth, right? Aris looked from the dusty floor to the man who was now offering him a new life. A life where his empathy wasn't a flaw, but an asset. He didn't want the riches, but he desperately wanted the ability to matter again. He smiled, a genuine, relieved smile that reached his weary eyes. I think I can build that bridge, Julian. The 2 men left the shack, Julian now leaning heavily on Aris, not on security guards or expensive cane. The true connection was forged not in the penthouse, but in the dirt. Have you ever found love or connection, or even your purpose, where you least expected it? Sometimes, the greatest treasures are hidden beneath the layers of someone else's pain. Fade to black.